Good afternoon. Can you start, Aarti?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you start?
Just one more minute, sir.
Okay.
4 o'clock sharp will be starting.
Okay.
Should we start? Hello.
Yeah, we can start. I think, Aarti.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening to one and all present here. I am Ms. Aarti Ahuja. On behalf of Srimati MMK College of Commerce and Economics, I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar. So now let's just begin with Saraswati Vandana, first of all, to start off with the session. Now, I would like to request our principal, sir, Dr. C.A. Kishore Pishori, to please address the participants.
Thank you, Aarti. This is the second consecutive series of seminar organized by BMC department, that is Bachelor of Mass Media. I congratulate you for the series of webinars which you have thought of introducing in the department. Yesterday was a fantastic session. I got a lot of applause from across India. And let me tell you, the college, Srimati Mithibai Motiram Kundani College, is one of the leading college in Mumbai University, located in the Queen City of Mumbai, that is Bandra. It is a Sindhi linguistic college catering to varied areas of commerce like BMS, BAV, BBI, BFM, and of course your department, that is mass media. The mass media department has been doing quite wonderfully. It has been doing a lot of industrial visits also. And let me tell you, after yesterday's session, grooming, we are coming to an unexplored area for BMM students, that is GST. Because when you buy any item, whether it's clothes or whether you give it for stitching anything, you have to have the most important component, GST. For the government as such, as you all know, the GST constitutes a major portion of tax collection, and I hope the learned speaker of today will throw light on how this component is important to understand, because everything we serve in BMM involves this component. So I wish you all the best for this, not only this today's seminar, but for the upcoming seminars also. Thank you, Aarti.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your words. Now, as we all know, though we are in a lockdown period, but still taxation remains in our mind 24 by 7. So now today we are here for a webinar on GST, a smart taxation system. I would like to introduce our speaker for the webinar, Mr. Swapnil Shenvi. He's a company secretary and also net and set qualified. He's an assistant professor and also has international certifications in contract law and change management and also have Swayam certifications. He's delivered a lot of guest lectures and also, in different colleges and Institute of Company Secretaries of India on GST, intellectual property rights, career prospects as CS. He's published and he's published a lot of research papers as well. We welcome you, sir, for this webinar. Now, I would request sir to please take over with the session and start off the session.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the introduction, and a very good evening to each and every participant over here. Today, I would like to talk about GST, and in this next 45 to 50 minutes that we have, we'll be talking about quite a few aspects of GST. And I do understand that many participants in today's session are having a background of mass media, that is BMM. But I will try to link this session with the students of BMM, but majorly this session will be a general session so that each and every student, each and every participant who is there in this session will understand what GST is. Again, GST is a topic where you require a lot of time to talk about each and every aspect. So clubbing it up in say 45-50 minutes will be a difficult task for me. However, I have cautiously designed this PPT, cautiously designed this session in such a manner that you will understand whatever I'm telling you. It is just like when you go to a wedding wherein you have a lot of things to eat, a lot of food to eat, and you do not understand what to eat. So I have tried to avoid that situation, and I've limited this session to a few topics under GST. So let us start this session. If you feel like noting down something, you can definitely note down during the entire session. I hope nobody feels sleepy during the next 45-50 minutes. And if you have any questions, you can definitely raise the questions in the chat box. Okay, let us start with certain basic aspects of GST. In India, GST was implemented in 2017. Everyone knows that. But what went behind in implementing this GST part? The president's consent was received on 8th of September 2016. However, the planning for implementation of GST started way back. When I say way back, I mean 2002. So India intended to start GST in 2002, but ultimately was successful in 2016. The reason being, one of the reasons being, we had coalition governments in the earlier years, say 2002 to 2014, wherein a lot of political parties were involved. So if a lot of political parties are involved, taking decisions is a slow process, which we all know. So it took a lot of time, and ultimately, under the chairmanship of the then finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, we ultimately succeeded in implementing GST in 2016, and which was effective from 2017. The original plan was to start GST on 1st of April 2017. However, the technical parts were not ready by then. So the country delayed the implementation of GST by around 3 more months. Finally, GST was started on 1st of July 2017 in the country. The first year, that is financial year 2017-2018, there were a lot of complexities. The first 3 months of 17-18 had VAT and GST. Later on, in the next 9 months, sorry, VAT and service tax, and in the next 9 months, there was GST. This was a major hurdle, because to find out which entity is liable, which entity is not liable to come under GST was a big task. What is the amount of tax that you need to pay? The first year was, in my words, this is my, of course, personal opinion, was a chaotic year, because there were a lot of complications in the GST portal as well. But now this complication is gone, and now GST is a very, very smooth process. Even though we started in 2017, we were way behind other countries. By then, 140 countries had already implemented GST. As on date, there are approximately 160 countries in the world who have already started GST. And first country to implement GST in the world was France. That was way back in 1954. Imagine India being almost 60 odd years late. So this was a setback maybe, but again, we have coped up quite well in the last 3-4 years. This was the old tax structure before GST, wherein goods When you manufacture goods, you have to pay tax. When you sell goods, you have to pay tax. When you transport goods, you have to pay tax. So taxation was there in every aspect in case of goods. And in case of services, whenever you supply a service, there was service tax. So since there are a lot of BMM students, what happens is when you give a service, when you give a certain service to your clients in terms of making advertisements, you charge them service tax. This was before 2017. If you manufacture certain goods, it was excise duty and VAT, sales tax. But then, since 2017, the concept changed entirely. There was no concept of manufacturing of goods. There was no concept of selling of goods. There was no concept of supplying of services. It was just one word, that was supply. If you can prominently see in on your screen, the word supply was specifically defined. Now you would say supply is a very small word. That might not have any implications, but actually when you talk about supply, I can talk about supply for around 10 to 12 hours. That is just one word, supply. Now GST is totally based on supply, and there are 4 types of GST. Everyone feels there is one GST Act 2017. On your screen you can see 4, but in reality there are 5 separate laws on GST. Central GST Act 2017, State GST Act 2017, Union Territory GST Act 2017, Integrated GST Act 2017, and one more, GST Compensation Cess Act. Now, what are these complications? Whenever you go to, say, a restaurant to consume food, at the end when you ask for a bill, you will always have the total of the products that you have consumed, the food that you have consumed, say 1,000 rupees. On that, you will be charged 5% GST. But in the bill, you will always see CGST 2.5%, SGST 2.5%. You have never seen UTGST or you have never seen IGST. Most of you all have never seen that part. And quite a few might have not even seen GST compensation cess. Now, why this is so? Because when you consume food or when you consume any product, use any service from the same state, if the supplier is in the same state and the buyer is also in the same state, the tax applicable is CGST and SGST. So if the rate is 5%, it will be 2.5, 2.5. If you have purchased a product, say, of GST rate 18%, it will be 9%, 9% on your bill. Because half of that tax goes to the central government and the remaining half goes to the state government in which you are currently residing. So if you are from Maharashtra, half of the tax will go to the state government of Maharashtra, half of the tax will go to the central government. However, if the supplier is in a different state and the buyer is in a different state, say the seller is from Rajasthan and the buyer is from Maharashtra, then it goes under IGST, integrated GST, wherein the entire amount of tax goes to the central government. Now you will say, why should only the central government take away the tax amount? That was the drawback. That was one of the reasons why GST was not started since 2002 and it was started in 2016, 2017. That was a bone of contention between the central government and the various states. All state governments, of course, want revenue. Only then they can implement good policies and developmental policies in their respective state. But if you do not get revenue, the entire revenue goes to the central government. That will be a big problem, which to an extent, Mr. Arun Jaitley tried to overcome, and he implemented GST with the help of all the finance ministers in the state, in the country. So integrated GST is when there is an involvement of 2 states. Now, one of the most important features of GST is a destination based tax. Now, what is this destination based tax? If I consume a product in Maharashtra, I have purchased it from Gujarat. Now from Gujarat to Maharashtra, where does this goods end? Where is it consumed? It is consumed in the state of Maharashtra. That is destination. And when there is a destination, you see where did the goods originate. It originated in Gujarat, it ended up in Maharashtra. So it is interstate transaction, which is integrated GST. If I'm a seller from Maharashtra and there is a buyer in the same state Maharashtra, there is no question because destination is the same state. So there comes CGST and SGST, which is usually the case in all your bills, mostly all your bills. And whenever there is a union territory involved, say Chandigarh or Daman and Diu, the tax applicable there is UT GST, Union Territory GST. Okay, now some people feel, and most of you all have been taught in your school days that Delhi is a union territory. However, for GST purposes, Delhi is considered to be a state. It is not a union territory for GST purposes. So these were the four acts. What about the fifth act? The fifth act was GST Compensation Cess Act. In the initial year, since 2017, there has been a major erosion of income for the state government. State governments are not getting money. Most of the revenue is going to the central government. So what has happened is state governments wanted money. So they started implementing GST compensation cess, an extra tax. So for example, Kerala is one of those states which has started GST compensation cess act, wherein they implement CGST, SGST, plus they implement the compensation cess. A tax on tax. That is one of the features of Kerala. So extra revenue is earned by the Kerala government because their major part of income is going to the central government. There are other states also, not just Kerala. However, Kerala is most talked about state because they were one of the prominent states which wanted this compensation cess. Now, central government has also made a rule that compensation cess will be there for 5 years, starting from 2017 till 2022. So for 5 years, it will be there will be this GST compensation cess. After that, it will be removed. All the states will be at par. These are the various rates across the world. If you see Canada, Malaysia, Singapore have 1 or 2 rates. However, India has 4 rates plus 0%. So if it is an essential commodity, say if you want to buy fruits, flowers, vegetables, these are essential things. There you will not be paying any GST, 0%. If the goods are not that essential, then the tax rate goes up. Say 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. 28% goods are also known as sin goods. Sin goods as in those goods are not required for you. They are not essential things. Say for example, cars, vehicles, diesel, petrol cars. They are not an essential requirement for an individual. So the tax rate is highest. If you purchase milk, it is 0% GST. That is how it is decided. If you go and consume food in a restaurant or you ask for a free home delivery, tax rate is 5% because that is not very essential, but that is also not least essential. So 5%. If you go to hotels, if you go and stay in a hotel, it is 18%. So these rates are there in India. Again, India is trying to get it down to 3 rates. 5 rates are too much. There is no country in the world which has 5 rates of taxes. India is the only country, 5 rates, including that 0% tax. So India has an aim, and the finance minister had said in one of her interviews that by 2022 we will have only 3 rates. And tentatively, she also said that, I mean, the sources have said that by 2022 the rates will be 0%, 15%, and 30%. Only 3 tax rates. That will remove a lot of complications involved in GST. Again, India has followed the Canadian system of GST, wherein there is a dual system of GST. Some part is received by the state government and some part is received by the central government. To implement all this structure, there is a GST council that has been formed. Now, this GST council currently, as on today, has 33 members, including the chairperson and the vice chairperson. The chairperson is the finance minister of the country. many of the individuals feel that chairperson will be, like other committees, the prime minister of the country. However, it is a finance minister. Currently, Mrs. Sitaraman is the chairperson of this committee. Besides this, Minister of State in charge of Revenue Finance. Currently, it is Mr. Anurag Thakur. If you have been seeing the news channels of late, since 3 or 4 days, today is the 4th day, the finance minister is talking about financial reforms that the country will be looking at to overcome this COVID-19 crisis. So, along with Mrs. Sitaraman, there is one individual, Mr. Anurag Thakur. Both of them are discussing about these financial plans. So he's also a member of this committee, council. Besides this, there are many other committees there are many other finance ministers. So each state government has one finance minister in this council, so that adequate representation of each and every state is given in this GST council. There is again this GST common portal, GST network. This GST network is an online based structure. Remember, earlier system of VAT, service tax, was an optional system wherein online as well as offline structure was there. Now it is totally replaced with GST network, which is completely online. You cannot have any offline transactions with the government. So a GST network has been formed. This GST network is a company. It is not of the government. It is a separate company, or under Section 8 of Companies Act 2013. Now, why a separate company? Because if you have studied in your maybe 11th, 12th standard in your business studies or commerce subject, there you might have studied that the liability of a company is limited. This was the major point that was picked up by the central government to reduce the liability of GST network. Now, to reduce the liability, they formed a separate company. In case you want to file a case against the government, against GST portal, you cannot file, because you are going to file a case against GST network, not against the government. And if you file against GST network, the liability is limited. Currently, the paid up capital of this GST network, authorized capital, is 50 lakh rupees. So at any point of time, the maximum liability will be 50 lakhs. You will get maximum 50 lakh rupees if you win the case against GST network. So a separate company has been formed. This acts as a uniform interface between all the taxpayers in the country, the government, central government, state government, all GST practitioners. Every individual is involved in this. Who is liable to register under GST is a big question. Many of you all might want to start a company or an organization of your own. This might be helpful. If your annual turnover, I'm talking about income, exceeds 40 lakhs, today's date I'm telling. If it exceeds 40 lakhs in one financial year, you need to register under GST. If an annual turnover is not exceeding 40 lakhs, you need not register. This is in case of a normal state. Normal state as in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. There are certain special category states like northeastern states, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. They have been given an option of 20 lakhs. So if you have a business over there and your turnover exceeds 20 lakhs, you need to register under GST provisions. What is the importance of this 20 lakhs? In states like Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, which are comparatively prosperous, there a lot of business organizations prosper, so their turnover will obviously be greater than 40 lakh rupees. However, when you go to northeastern states, there you do not have a business which has a turnover of 40 lakhs. See, if you are living in a city like Mumbai, you get down your building and you have all the stores nearby, close by, and you can purchase whatever you want. However, if you go to a place in Northeast India, just to purchase a packet of milk, you need to walk for around 3, 4, 5 kilometers. So their business is not strong enough. So no one will be registering over there under GST provisions if the turnover limit for one financial year is 40 lakh rupees. So for that, they have reduced it to 20 lakhs. Also, Assam and Jammu and Kashmir were given an option of deciding uh, their turnover limit, whether they want to go for 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs. And both of the states decided in common that they would like to go for 40 lakhs turnover limit and not 20 lakhs. So I will concentrate on a limited aspects. However, there are a lot of things on the screen. We do not have that time to discuss all these things. So this is one of the most important things. Also, each and every individual who is doing business is liable to register. If the person's turnover goes beyond 40 lakhs. So even your tailor who stitches your clothes, if his turnover exceeds 40 lakhs in one financial year, he has to register mandatorily. I had come across a case wherein a student had come to me and he had asked me, his laundry guy is charging GST. Is it right? I said, yes, it is right. There's no doubt in it. If he has a GST number and he's giving you a proper bill, it is valid enough. So he said, that means a laundry guy's turnover is more than 40 lakhs. Maybe or may not be. Because there is an option under GST wherein if your turnover exceeds 40 lakhs, register under GST. If your turnover doesn't exceed 40 lakhs, and still if you want to collect GST from your customers, you can register voluntarily. So that is also an option. Maybe that laundry guy might not cross 40 lakhs turnover in one financial year, but still if he wants to collect GST, that's absolutely fine. This is the provision under GST. Voluntarily also everyone can come and register. However, if you are a farmer or a person dealing totally in agriculture, then you are not required to register under GST at all. Or if you are selling only goods which are non-taxable. Non-taxable means agricultural produce, that is fruits, flowers, vegetables. These are non-taxable goods. Besides this, if you are into dealing of Indian national flag, if you are selling Indian national flag, you need not register. It is non-taxable. However, if you are selling flags of any particular team, say Mumbai Indians, IPL team, Mumbai Indians, Chennai Super Kings, then you need to register because that is not of national importance. Also, in India, under GST rules, Bindi is also considered to be of national importance. So you need not register. You need not pay tax on purchasing and selling of Bindi. Again, glass bangles also, if you are selling, need not register because it is a completely non-taxable product. So these things are non-taxable if you are selling only these goods, and then in that case you need not register. Besides this, there are certain categories of individuals who need to register. You need to think about all these things before starting your organization. If you are dealing in interstate transactions, say Maharashtra to Punjab, Maharashtra to Madhya Pradesh, and you are selling taxable products like say mobile phones, register. If you are a casual taxable person, now who is this casual taxable person? Many of you all might have to register after I talk about this point. I believe most of you all are students in this webinar, and there are you or your friends who might be dealing, who might be having some hobby wherein they make some artwork, craft work, and they put it up for sale in exhibitions. So these exhibitions are once in 2-3 months. So once in 3 or 4 times in 1 year, you sell these handmade products. You need to register whatever money you are getting. No need to wait for 40 lakhs turnover. You have to register. That is one of the complications under GST. You are known as a casual taxable person, a person who occasionally deals in goods or services, who earns money, whether it is 1 rupee or 100 rupees or 40 lakh rupees. You have to register. You are known as casual taxable person. So registration is mandatory. Besides this, a person who has come from some other state, that some other state also has to register. Other state as in, when I'm saying your state, it means a country. That person is known as a non-resident taxable person. That individual also has to register under GST. Now there is this concept of electronic commerce operator. Electronic commerce operator means Flipkart, Amazon, a proper defined scenario has been given to these individuals, these organizations. They have to register under GST, even if their turnover is 1 rupee. When I now under this under these unprecedented circumstances, these online delivery grocery stores, Big Basket or Star Quick or Grofers, they are also electronic commerce operators. They need to register under GST. However, when they sell vegetables, fruits to you, it is non-taxable because those are essential commodities. But if they sell some branded product to you, then that is taxable. That comes under GST. So every electronic commerce operator also has to register. There was this person, one student had come to me. He had his own business of making dry fruits, making and packing of dry fruits and selling it. He stays in Mumbai. Now, he says his turnover during the entire year is around 10 lakh rupees. Dry fruits, a consumable product, and non-branded product, because it was not a brand that he had. It was just a plain factory that he had wherein he packed those dry fruits and sold it. So he was not supposed to register. However, he wanted to register voluntarily. I suggested, if you want, you can, but it is not mandatory for you. So avoid registering. A few days later, he came back to me and he said that he was going to start a website of his own wherein you can order dry fruits from his website. Now, if you order dry fruits from his website, I said, congratulations, that's a good business that you are thinking about, that will expand your business. But then he said, sir, और कुछ restrictions है क्या GST में? This section 24 came into my mind, because every electronic commerce operator is required to register. Now he becomes an electronic commerce operator. He was not going to just sell his own dry fruits, but also going to sell someone else's dry fruits on his website. This triggered this section 24, and now he has to register. Though he has not started that practice as of now. So as of now, he's not required to register. But if he starts, he'll have to register. So whenever you are going with your goods online, remember you are an e-commerce operator. Get yourself registered. Besides this, if you're acting as an agent for someone or a principal of someone, you have to register under GST. This is the GST number. This GST number that you get, GST identification number, is a 15-digit number which bifurcates as shown on your screen. I don't think that is a point to be discussed, because I want to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on GST, which will require around 5 to 10 minutes. This is one of the bills that is there on your screen. This is one of the most appropriate bills under GST. Every bill should look like this. Most of the stores that you go, they give you a GST bill wherein they have a stamp of their GST number. This is not an ideal way of having a GST bill. So I would suggest this is the best structure. And on this structure, if you see, you will have this HSN code also, Harmonized System of Nomenclature. What is this Harmonized System of Nomenclature? It is that structure wherein what is your product actually, it is clearly defined. Say for example, you have a watch. This watch is made up of plastic. It also has leather. It also has metallic parts. It also has mechanical parts. And all these things have separate tax rates. Now, when you have separate tax rates, then what exactly should you charge as your GST on watch? Whether it is a mechanical part or it is a plastic component or a leather component, that creates confusion. So government has created a harmonized system of nomenclature. This is not today, it is in existence since a long time, in the pre-GST era also. So there you can identify your product. There are certain rules in it. There you can actually identify your product as what is it exactly, what rate should be applied, whether of the leather part or the mechanical part or the plastic component. So that harmonized system of nomenclature number should be mentioned in your GST bill. Should be, I'm not saying must be. Ideally, it should be mentioned. So this is the GST bill. There is also a new component which has been started under GST, new concept rather, an e-way bill. E-way bill means whenever you want to transport your goods from one state to another, then you need to generate this e-way bill on the GST portal. Okay, by the way, GST portal the GST portal is www.gst.gov.in. So there you have to go, you must have an account for this and generate an e-way bill. Whenever you transport your goods from one state to another, then you need to create this e-way bill. Why so? Because government wants to keep a track. Where are your goods lying? Why are you transporting from one place to another? Is your intention to deceive the authorities? Is your intention to evade taxes? All these things are involved. So that is the reason why e-way bill concept came into picture. If your transported goods are worth more than 50,000, generate an e-way bill. However, if you are transporting personal goods, say I am shifting from Mumbai to Pune, and I have hired a truck or a tempo to transport my goods, then it is not required. Then e-way bill is not required because it is a personal goods. However, if it is a business product, then it has to be registered. Even if it is from one factory to your own factory in some other location, register on e-way bill. Get an e-way bill. You might think e-way bill has to be generated online only. It can be generated through mobile app also. This is one of the good features that government has implemented. The e-way bill concept is there on your mobile. This e-way bill is valid for a period of 24 hours. Now there was this peculiar situation that arose in the month of March, March 24th. There were certain manufacturers who produced their goods and their goods were ready for shipment from their own factory to some other state. I'm talking about 24th of March. If you remember this date, lockdown 1.0 was started on 24th of March. They wanted to ship their products, ship as in transport their products from one state to another. They had it loaded on their tempos. They generated an e-way bill which is valid for 24 hours. And government suddenly gave in a news of lockdown for the next 21 days. What happens to the e-way bill? Their trucks were halfway through and suddenly they have to be stopped. If you want to further go ahead with the same products, same truck, then you need to regenerate your e-way bill. How are you going to regenerate your e-way bill? The truck fellow, even if I generate the e-way bill at my house, at my factory, at my office, I am located in some other state, and the truck fellow, the driver is in some other state. What happens now? Government immediately came up with a notification. It is okay. The e-way bill stands valid even after 24 hours under such unprecedented circumstances. So this was the thing of e-way bill that was a peculiar situation in the month of March 2014. March 24th, 2020. E-ledgers, whenever you open an account on GST portal, you get 3 accounts: electronic cash ledger, electronic credit ledger, and electronic liability register. Electronic cash ledger is just like your say Paytm account or a PhonePe account, wherein you transfer money, you keep it ready in your Paytm account whenever you go to say a store and purchase products, and then the seller says pay X amount. You have it in your Paytm, directly pay it to that individual. Same way, you have to keep certain amount in your electronic cash ledger. Whenever your liability arises, you pay for that liability. Just acts like a mobile wallet. Electronic credit ledger is the account wherein input tax is recorded. Now, what is input tax? Whenever you buy certain products with an intention to sell it further, You are paying taxes when you are buying the product, and you are collecting taxes from the customer when you are selling the product. So when you are buying, the amount of tax that you have paid is reflected in this electronic credit ledger. A tax you have paid to some other customer, to some other seller, that seller deposits it with the government. That is reflected in the electronic credit ledger. An electronic liability register is all about final computation. What is the exact amount of tax that you need to pay? So if you go and check your account, you have a liability of say 1 lakh rupees. You have to pay 1 lakh from your electronic cash ledger. That electronic liability register just shows the amount of tax that you need to pay. So these three are the ledgers that are involved. Now I'll talk about the first GST fraud case that happened in 2017 itself, and these individuals, the directors of these companies, were caught in 2018. Now what did they do? There were two companies, Shah Brothers Ispat Private Limited and VN Industries Limited. What did they do? They understood that GST has been implemented from 1st of July 2017. They started selling goods to each other. Obviously, everyone was selling and buying goods, so everyone had their GST bill generated. Of course, in the initial period, in the initial 6 months, there were a lot of complications on the GST portal. However, government was looking after whoever is doing fraud. These companies thought that their fraud will not be caught. So what they did was they started generating fake bills against each other. They were just selling goods on paper, buying goods on paper from each other. In reality, there was no movement of goods. Forget movement, there were no goods at all. They were just selling, I have sold goods to the other person, he has sold goods to me. So in both the balance sheets, in Shah Brothers also and VN Industries also, both had assets. One company had assets worth 5.2 crores and the other company had assets worth rupees 2.3 crores. So that means they showed it amount is receivable from the other party. So for example, Shah Brothers was saying I am going to receive 5 crores from VN Industries because I have sold goods worth rupees 5 crores. VN Industries on the other end was saying I have sold goods worth rupees 2 crores to Shah Brothers. I am going to receive that amount. So both had assets. Both of them went to banks and demanded for loan. Now you know the banks ask for certain things to be mortgaged or kept as security, collateral basically. So they said, see, we have 2 crores receivable, 5 crores receivable. Banks said, okay, we'll give you loan. You have a big amount, 2 crores, 5 crores, again 7 crores. So they readily wanted to give loans. However, they thought for a second, banks thought for a second and saw 2 crores and 5 crores. Okay, if they are selling goods, that means they might have a record on GST portal. They went on GST portal, there was no record because they are not registered on the GST portal at all. And this fraud was caught. They were doing a fraud of 7 crores with the help of the banks. They wanted to do, but they were caught. They were caught in the first 7 months itself. So 1st July 2017, this GST had started, and they were caught in January 2018. 7 months, and GST fraud was into picture. And till date, there are a lot of frauds of similar kinds, but GST, since it is an online structure, everybody has an access to this GST portal. So frauds होने के chances थोड़े कम हो जाते हैं. And the last slide that I would like to talk about is impact of COVID-19 on GST. Now, what is the impact of COVID? The government had an aim of earning 12 lakh crores in the financial year 2019-2020 just from GST. That is, their aim was, as per the budget of February 2019, their aim was to earn 1 lakh crores every month, so that they earned 12 lakh crores in the entire financial year. From April to December 2019, that is 9 months, they should have earned 9 lakh crores. However, they were well short of it. they had earned around 8 lakh 45 or 8 lakh 50 crores in the first 9 months. So they were short by 50,000 crores. This is a big amount, 50,000 crores. So they gave the GST authorities an aim of earning 1,15,000 crores every month in Jan 2020, Feb 2020, and March 2020. So 3 months, 1,15,000 crores each, so that they can set off the negative points of not earning enough amount in the first 9 months of that fiscal, of that financial year. So in the next 3 months, their aim was 1,15,000 crores. Jan almost achieved. Feb 2020 achieved. They were well on target in March 2020 also. However, this COVID-19 came into picture, and then there was this problem. At the end of the month, government came up with a report. So after every month, on the first or the second day of the next month, so if it is Feb, so 1st or 2nd of March, they have a press release wherein they state what was the collection of GST in the previous month. This was not possible under pre-GST era because it was an offline structure. So counting, calculating was a difficult task. GST, it is just a click of the mouse and everyone comes to know who gets what amount of tax, which state government gets what amount of tax. So now, April, I'm just talking about the first 24 days because I do not think in the next 7 days when there was a lockdown, people might have earned any, might have sold any product or earned any GST. I don't think so. So their figures for the month of March, I would say it was just for 24 days instead of 31 days. They had earned 97,000 crore rupees in the month of March 2020. Had they got this full month of March, I'm sure they would have crossed 1,15,000 crores. Now, what was the effect? Their first target of 12 lakh crores not achieved, failed because of COVID. What about the future of GST now? What happens to the next months, April, May, June? I would like to ask you all a question. You all think about it. What have you all purchased in the last 2 months? Have you all purchased a mobile phone? Has any individual purchased a car? Very few people might have gone to a restaurant, consumed food outside. So where is this GST going to come forward now? Or come from? Every month, if you have a target of 1 lakh crore, definitely you're not going to earn 1 lakh crore in the month of April or May. The automobile industry in the country is worth 4 lakh crores. Sorry, not the automobile industry, the food industry, the restaurant business is worth 4 lakh crores. 4 lakh crores पे 5% GST count करो कितना बड़ा amount आएगा. But that amount government is not going to earn. Everybody is scared of eating outside now. But definitely April में collections नहीं होने वाला है. And this is the first time that government also has not come up with the figures and earnings of April, because every month they come up with what they have earned in the last month. But on 1st and 2nd of May, they said we are going to defer it. We are going to disclose the amount later on because they are not sure what is the amount. And it is an estimate that the government is going to earn only 40% of their aim. That is only 40,000 crores. जहाँ पे 1 लाख करोड़ का एम था, अब वो 40,000 करोड़ का एम हो गया है, कलेक्शन होगा. तो 60,000 करोड़ एक महीने में कम हुआ है, आगे चल के और भी कम होने वाला है तुम्हारा इनकम, पता नहीं कितने टाइम तक. And everybody's lifestyle is definitely going to change because of COVID, at least for the next 6 months. I'm not talking about 1 year down the line, but at least for the next 6 months, everybody is going to avoid going outside or avoid going to crowded places like say theaters. तो ये सब अगर नहीं होने वाला है तो गवर्नमेंट का टैक्स नहीं आने वाला है. इसीलिए जो लास्ट 2-3 दिन से फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर जो बात कर रहे हैं, आज भी शायद 4 बजे को उनका एक प्रेस रिलीज था, प्रेस इंटरेक्शन था, जहां पे वो और फाइनेंशियल पैकेज देने वाले थे. बट वो फाइनेंशियल पैकेज दे क्यों रहे? ताकि तुम्हारे हाथ में पैसा आए. एंड दे हैव एन एक्सपेक्टेशन फ्रॉम यू. व्हाट एक्सपेक्टेशन? दे वांट यू टू गो आउट एंड spend on products which give GST returns to the government. वो अगर नहीं होगा तो गवर्नमेंट को चलना मुश्किल है आगे। 20 लाख करोड़ जो उन्होंने फाइनेंशियल पैकेज रिलीज किया है, दैट इज अ बिग अमाउंट। वो कमाने के लिए डायरेक्ट टैक्स इज वन ऑफ द स्ट्रक्चर्स, बट जीएसटी इज आल्सो इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट। 20 लाख करोड़, और एम क्या था हमारा 12 लाख करोड़ का, तो वो 12 लाख करोड़ कमाना जरूरी है कुछ भी करके इन 2020 2021, which is going to be very difficult. Another industry that has been affected because of COVID and ultimately the GST part has been affected is the hotel industry. So everybody had plans of going to some of the other location in the vacations, जो usual होता है अप्रैल में जून में सब लोग घूमने जाते हैं, and most of you all might have booked the hotels in the month of Jan Feb itself. तुमने बुक कर लिया मतलब पेमेंट कर दिया, से अज्यूम करते हैं कि तुमने 3-4 नाइट्स का स्टे बुक किया है और तुम्हारा होटल का चार्जेस था 10,000 रुपीज, उसके ऊपर 18% जीएसटी यानी 1,800 रुपीज हो गया। तो यू हैव पेड द एंटायर अमाउंट इन द मंथ ऑफ जैन फेब इटसेल्फ, तब तो कोविड का नामो निशान नहीं था इंडिया में। यू हैव पेड 11,800 टू द होटल गाय। अब वो होटल गाय का जिम्मेदारी क्या बनता है, जैन में पैसा कमाया ना 10,000 और 1,800 ऊपर से, उसने वो 1,800 गवर्नमेंट के पास डिपॉजिट करना है इन द मंथ ऑफ जैन इटसेल्फ। अभी अगर उसको जैन में ही डिपॉजिट करना है, उसने कर दिया जैन में डिपॉजिट। अब तुम मार्च में आके कोविड आया, अप्रैल में आया कोविड आया, तो तुमने अपना ट्रैवलिंग प्लान्स कैंसिल कर दिया। कैंसिल किया मतलब रिफंड आ गया, और रिफंड आया मतलब 10,000 तो रिफंड आ गया। 1,800 का क्या, 1,800 also has to be refunded by that hotel guy to you। इसका मतलब क्या हो गया कि वो होटल गाय ने 1,800 रुपया खुद के जेब से गवर्नमेंट को दिया इन द मंथ ऑफ जैन, एंड नाउ ही इज रिफंडिंग 1,800 टू यू आल्सो, तो उसका तो नुकसान हो गया ना उसमें। अब इसमें जीएसटी में एक और कॉन्सेप्ट रहता है कि इफ यू हैव रिफंडेड दैट जीएसटी अमाउंट टू द कस्टमर, then you can adjust it, you cannot claim it back from the government, you can adjust it in the next transaction। तो अगर किसी और ने अप्रैल में बुक किया वो होटल, तो वो 1,800 पे नहीं करेगा, कस्टमर होटल वाले को पे करेगा, बट होटल वाला आगे जाके पे नहीं करेगा क्योंकि उसने पहले से ही एडजस्ट कर लिया है। पर अब एडजस्ट करने का सवाल ही नहीं उठा, बिकॉज कोई दूसरा इंसान जा थोड़ी रहा है होटल में, दैट अदर इंडिविजुअल इज आल्सो नॉट गोइंग, so he is waiting and waiting for a new customer to book his hotel, but no one is booking, तो उसका लॉस हो रहा है। गवर्नमेंट रिफंड नहीं दे रहा है, यहाँ से तुम उसने कस्टमर को रिफंड दे दिया और दूसरा इंसान किसी और को कोई बुकिंग नहीं हो रहा है, तो ये एक इफेक्ट है, इसका प्रॉब्लम होने वाला है इसका। So this is one of the impacts of COVID-19 on GST. Businessmen are going to suffer because they are going to refund the tax amount to the customers. They're not able to adjust it. Plus उनके employees का salaries तो है ही, तो वो salaries देना भी again will be very difficult. So yeah, on this note, I would like to end my today's session. I guess I am well within time. It is 4:55. If you all have questions, I hope the session was fruitful enough. You'll have learned, for non-GST background people, I hope you'll have learned certain concepts in GST. 1 hour again is a short duration. You cannot cover a lot of things of GST. However, I hope I have made justice to this session. I would like to take some queries and questions that people have asked. So I'll just read those queries and I'll come back to you all. Yeah, so impact I have spoken about. There is one question, very important question. If a business crosses 40 lakhs turnover, they have to register mandatorily. However, if it doesn't cross 40 lakhs turnover, then it is voluntary, it is optional. Why will business organizations register under GST and collect taxes from customers and pay it to the government? Because once you are registered, you are considered to be a legal entity, ethical entity, an organization which follows all rules and regulations. For you, taking loans will be easier now. You see, if you have not registered, you might have studied in your business studies or commerce subjects, wherein you might have studied an unregistered entity is not recognized. So if you have registered under GST, the banks are willing to give you loan because they can track your income through the GST portal. That is an advantage. बिजनेसमैन को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता, कस्टमर के पास से वो लोग टैक्स कलेक्ट करते हैं और गवर्नमेंट को जाके देते हैं, सिर्फ डिपॉजिट करने का काम है और कोई काम नहीं होता उनका। पर ये रजिस्टर करोगे तो बेनिफिशियल रहता है। बेनिफिट्स एज सच बड़े बेनिफिट्स नहीं है, पर लोन जब चाहिए आगे चल के 5 साल बाद, वो बेनिफिट है। देखो आज मैं पैसे कमा रहा हूँ, इनकम टैक्स मुझे पे नहीं करना है, टैक्स की चोरी करूंगा मैं, पर पे करूंगा तो ज्यादा अच्छा, क्योंकि आगे चल के बैंक्स देखेगा अरे ये टैक्स कंप्लायंट इंडिविजुअल है, टैक्स पे कर रहा है, तो बैंक्स मुझे लोन आसानी से देते हैं। ये उसका फायदा होता है वॉलंटरीली रजिस्टर करने का। Yes, a person doing an individual business, designing business, BMM स्टूडेंट्स काफी है यहाँ पर, डिजाइनिंग बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, उनका टर्नओवर 10 लाख से नीचे है, रजिस्टर करना चाहिए क्या जीएसटी में? कंपल्शन नहीं है। डिजाइनिंग कर रहे हो, जैसे कोरल ड्रॉ या कोई वीडियोस बना रहे हो, कंपल्सरी नहीं है, बट वॉलेंटरीली करोगे तो अच्छा है। कस्टमर्स के पास थोड़ा ज्यादा पैसे लेने पड़ेंगे तुमको, ये एक नेगेटिव चीज है कस्टमर्स के एंगल से, बट तुमको आगे चल के जब बिजनेस करना है, लोन चाहिए बिजनेस ग्रो करने के लिए, तो वो तुम्हारा फायदा होगा। तो इनकम टैक्स भले ही तुम पे कर रहे हो, वो इनकम तुम्हारा है, पर बिजनेस का इनकम जो है, सर्विस देके पैसे कमाना, वो बेनिफिशियल रहता है। सो यू शुड रजिस्टर, नॉट मस्ट। आई थिंक वही रिपीटेटिव क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं वॉलंटरी रजिस्ट्रेशन के ऊपर, सो आई थिंक आई विल नॉट कवर इट अगेन। हाँ, one important question is, one person is asking, how can the same product be taxed under CGST and SGST both? दोनों में टैक्सेशन कैसे होगा? वो दो अलग एक्ट्स भले ही है, पर टैक्स 18% नहीं है। तो इफ आई एम कंज्यूमिंग फूड इन अ रेस्टोरेंट इन मुंबई, 5% जीएसटी लगेगा उसके ऊपर। मैं नॉन एसी रेस्टोरेंट की बात कर रहा हूँ, 5% जीएसटी लगेगा। तो बिल में सीजीएसटी 5%, एसजीएसटी 5% नहीं आता, वही 5% का आधा आधा हिस्सा होता है। सीजीएसटी 2.5, एसजीएसटी 2.5, तो 5% ही भर रहे हो तुम, 10% नहीं भर रहे। आधा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को जाता है, आधा स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को जाता है। तो टैक्स सेम है, सिर्फ आधा आधा हो रहा है। वो जो हमने बात की ना, डुअल स्ट्रक्चर विच इज डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम द कैनेडियन स्ट्रक्चर, कनाडा में ये काफी कनाडा का सिस्टम है ड्यूअल सिस्टम, वो यहाँ पर हमने इंप्लीमेंट किया है, आधा आधा शेयर करने का। तो इट इज नॉट टैक्स ट्वाइस। इनफैक्ट जीएसटी में कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट निकल जाता है, टैक्स के ऊपर टैक्स, बार बार टैक्स नहीं लगता, जो पहले के सिस्टम में प्री जीएसटी एरा में लगता था। मैन्युफैक्चर करो टैक्स भरो, ट्रांसपोर्ट करो ऑक्ट्रा टैक्स भरो, बेचो तब वैट भरो, ये बहुत सारे टैक्स लगते थे। अभी वैसा नहीं है, एक ही बार टैक्स लगता है। कब? डेस्टिनेशन बेस्ड टैक्स, लास्ट में जब कंज्यूमर के पास गुड्स पहुंचता है तब की बात है। हाँ, HSN कोड इज अ सेपरेट पार्ट ऑल टुगेदर, जहां पे वो डिफाइन किया जाता है, रूल्स रहते हैं, 6 रूल्स रहते हैं, जिससे वो प्रोडक्ट कौन सा रूल अप्लाई करना है, रूल 1, रूल 2, रूल 3, वो HSN कोड का अलग से पार्ट है। जहाँ पे अभी वॉच मैकेनिकल कंपोनेंट ज्यादा प्रोमिनेंट है उसका, प्लास्टिक कंपोनेंट या लेदर कंपोनेंट से वॉच नहीं बनता। वो जो वॉच चलता है मैकेनिकल पार्ट से चलता है, वरना वॉच का कोई यूज नहीं है। तो मैकेनिकल कंपोनेंट का रेट क्या है, उस हिसाब से वॉच के ऊपर जीएसटी लगाया जाता है, वो HSN कोड है। If it is an essential product, tax rate is lesser. If it is an essential product, tax rate कम लगता है या नहीं लगता है। एसेंशियल नहीं है, जैसे सिन गुड्स है, उसके ऊपर 28% तक जीएसटी लग जाता है, कार 28%। लेकिन वही इलेक्ट्रॉनिक व्हीकल रहेगा ना, ई व्हीकल जो शुरुआत हो रही थी इंडिया में और फिर ये सब कोविड-19 हो गया, तो ई व्हीकल्स के ऊपर जीएसटी 12%, कम टैक्स है, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट वांट्स टू प्रमोट दोस प्रोडक्ट्स। अगर प्रमोट करना है तो टैक्स रेट कम लगता है, प्रमोट नहीं करना है गवर्नमेंट को तो टैक्स रेट ज्यादा लगता है। कार गवर्नमेंट नहीं चाहता कि पेट्रोल डीजल वाले कार्स कस्टमर्स खरीदे, 28% लगता है। अच्छा, एक और पॉइंट विच आई वुड लाइक टू हाईलाइट ओवर हियर, काफी लोग पूछ सकते हैं कि पेट्रोल के ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगता, अल्कोहल के ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगता, वो क्यों? बिकॉज स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स ने बोला हमको कुछ ना कुछ रेवेन्यू चाहिए बहुत ज्यादा, अगर जीएसटी आ गया सब चीजों में तो ऑल दिस जीएसटी विल बी अर्न्ड बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, हम लोग के पास थोड़ा सा ही पैसा आएगा, so they wanted something to be kept with themselves, इसीलिए अल्कोहल, पेट्रोल, इनके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगता, इनके ऊपर वैट लगता है। द इनिशियल एम ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट इज 5 सालों के लिए 2017 से 2022 तक, फॉर 5 years वैट विल बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड। वैट यानी जो पहले वैल्यू एडेड टैक्स जो गुड्स के ऊपर लगता था वो वैट इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं। एम है आगे भी बढ़ सकता है 2022 के बाद भी, बट फिलहाल के लिए एम है 2022 तक वैट लगाया जाएगा इनके ऊपर, 2022 के बाद पेट्रोल और अल्कोहल को जीएसटी के अंडर लेकर आएंगे और उसके ऊपर शायद ज्यादा टैक्स भी लगाएंगे अंडर जीएसटी। Yes. One question, during lockdown GST date has been changed by the finance ministry, it will be constant or not? फिलहाल के लिए तो गवर्नमेंट ने जो डेट्स लेते हैं हर महीने में ना, every organization has to file certain returns on GST portal, which we did not speak about because that will be a lot higher as compared to the understanding of younger students, क्योंकि यहाँ पे FY के भी स्टूडेंट्स काफी है। तो ये जो स्ट्रक्चर है हर महीने में तुमको अगले महीने के 10 तारीख या 20 तारीख को अलग अलग फॉर्म्स होते हैं, 10 या 20 तारीख तक कुछ रिटर्न्स फाइल करने होते हैं। All these returns have been delayed till the last week of June, तो जून 30 तक you can upload your forms। तो इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट ने, this is one of the reasons why government has not declared the GST collections of April, क्योंकि अप्रैल का जो कलेक्शन है वो जून 30 तक तुम लोग अपना फॉर्म्स भर सकते हो, तो एग्जैक्ट अमाउंट अभी नहीं मालूम पड़ेगा, लास्ट वीक ऑफ जून में मालूम पड़ेगा। तो इस साल के लिए डिले किया है, हर साल हर महीने के लिए डिले नहीं होने वाला, इट विल नॉट बी कांस्टेंट, लेटर ऑन इट वी विल बी बैक टू नॉर्मल, बैक टू स्क्वायर वन, जहाँ पे हम लोग हर महीने रिटर्न्स भरते थे। इनफैक्ट इन द फर्स्ट ईयर 2017-2018 one company had to file 37 returns अंडर जीएसटी, यानी हर महीने में 3 रिटर्न्स फाइल करना पड़ता था और एक एनुअल रिटर्न, एक साल में 37 रिटर्न्स। पैसे का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के जाते थे सीए के पास, वो सीए, सीएस, जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर अपलोड करते थे तुम्हारे फॉर्म, उनको बहुत अर्निंग्स होता था, बट अब वो कम कर लिया है, तो अभी इट इज अराउंड 6-7 रिटर्न्स मैक्सिमम फॉर एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, तो ज्यादा बेनिफिशियल होता है, कम रिटर्न्स है तो ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं है। ओके, वन मोर क्वेश्चन दैट वन पर्सन हैज आस्क्ड, ये जीएसटी जो रिटर्न्स फाइल करते हैं जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर्स, वो जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर हम भी बन सकते हैं क्या? यस, यू कैन बिकम अ जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर। यू, इफ यू आर ऑफ अ साउंड माइंड, इफ यू आर अ पर्सन ऑफ साउंड माइंड, तुमको जेल की सजा नहीं हुई है, यू आर नॉट अ माइनर, यू आर अ ग्रेजुएट, तो तुम जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर्स बन सकते हो। आइडियली यू नीड टू गिव एन एग्जाम। NACIN का वेबसाइट है, NACIN, नेशनल एकेडमी ऑफ कस्टम्स, इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस एंड नार्कोटिक्स, NACIN, इस वेबसाइट पे जाओ, आपको सभी डिटेल्स मिल जाएंगे, आप भी जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर्स बन सकते हो, प्रोवाइडेड यू शुड हैव अ बैकग्राउंड, अ नॉलेज ऑफ लॉ एंड कॉमर्स। तो ये बैकग्राउंड रहेगा तो आप जीएसटी प्रैक्टिशनर बन सकते हो। हाँ, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ जीएसटी, कोविड तो हो गया है, और I think these sections that you're talking about, one of the students had, one of the participants have asked, explain section 22. Section 22 is all about who needs to register under GST. हमारे लिए अभी जो पहले से 2017 में से बिजनेस कर रहे थे उनके लिए तो if you are registered under the earlier section, earlier acts, सर्विस टैक्स, वैट, तो तुमको फिर से रजिस्टर करना है, बट अगर तुम पहले रजिस्टर्ड नहीं थे तो अभी रजिस्टर करना है, तो यू नीड टू हैव अ टर्नओवर ऑफ 40 lakhs तो ही रजिस्टर करने की जरूरत है, वरना रजिस्ट्रेशन करने की जरूरत नहीं है। अगर तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स के नाम पे बिजनेस है, दे हैव टाइड, इट इज नाउ ऑन योर नेम, यू नीड टू रजिस्टर अगेन, ट्रांसफरी रिलेशनशिप, यू आर अ सक्सेसर नाउ, so you need to register under GST. Tuition classes services, yes, कोचिंग क्लासेस रजिस्टर करना जरूरी है. No doubt in that it is a commercial organization. The rule is कमर्शियल जहां पे होगा, पैसे कमा रहे हो टैक्स भरो. सोशल सर्विस कर रहे हो टैक्स भरने की जरूरत नहीं है. सो न्यूज़पेपर्स पे जीएसटी नहीं लगता बिकॉज वो सोशल सर्विस कर रहे हैं, वो तुमको इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहे हैं. पर कोचिंग क्लासेस इज अ कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी, तो तुमको वहां पे जीएसटी लगेगा. So I guess we are beyond our schedule. It is almost 5:10, I guess. I would like to conclude with this session. If you have any further queries, if you want to ask any doubts, you can definitely ask on these contact details. You can follow me, you can email me, or you can just contact me on my mobile. So yeah. Thank you very much. I hope you all have found this session. I've done justice to this session in this short span of time. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Aarti, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. So now we've come to an end of the session. And on behalf of the college, I would like to propose a vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Swapnil sir for providing a very insight about GST. Though me being from a very non-GST kind of a background, it was really very easy for me to understand. So of course, it was very much easy for other participants as well to understand the entire concept in deep. And next thing that I would like to thank is the principal of the college and the vice principals to provide us, the BMM department, a lot of support and motivating us to do such kind of seminars and webinars. And lastly, of course, I would even like to thank the technical management without which the entire webinar wouldn't have been possible, and also the audiences for providing us with a lot of support. So thank you everyone. And of course, a feedback form would be provided to you all. So you all are please requested to fill in that form. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.